Troops of Operation Heaven K in the northeast of the country are combing areas around the fish market in Brno that was attacked early hours of Friday in a bid to protect the people of Konduga local government area from fear. According to security sources, the assailant disguised as a civilian. Now, what does this mean to the people and the mandates of the military? Data feeds are coming through in one place simultaneously on all our social media platforms, controltv.ng. Find us right now on Facebook, Instagram and X. We've got all our stories on the armed forces covered. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, is marking 2 years in office as CDS, holding a parley with the media. He answered to questions raised on winning the war against Boko Haram and ISWAP with optimism. He's asking the media to assist in boosting the morals of the soldiers by verifying facts, avoiding propaganda that propagates the evils of the insurgents, bandits and ISWAP from the Sahel. Gallantry begins right now. Hello everyone, it's prime time in Nigeria. I am Gimba Umar and this is Gallantry, a program of the military's sacrifices, successes and achievements. It's now 2 years since the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, assumed office. A series of events to mark his feat have been undertaken during the week. Chiefly is the parley with media executives at the defense headquarters in Abuja. Anthems taken and all seated. The CDS crisply delves into the crux of the parley.
To strengthen understanding, build public trust and deepen transparency between the military, the media and the Nigerian people. Let me begin by appreciating everyone present today, especially the Honorable Minister of Defense, the Honorable Minister of Information and National Orientation, the service chiefs, heads of security agencies, media executives and press organizations, serving and retired officers as well as members of the Nigerian public. I'm well aware of the many demands on your time and I thank you most sincerely for finding it worthy to honor our invitation. Your presence here speaks volumes about your commitment to national security, peace, progress and unity. At this juncture, permit me to express the heartfelt condolences of the Armed Forces of Nigeria to the families and communities affected by recent violent spate of attacks. We especially grieve with the nation over the tragic losses in Yelwata, Benue State and other affected areas in both the southern and northern regions of our country. These senseless acts of violence against fellow citizens weigh heavily on our hearts. As always, we remain fully committed to ensuring that justice is served and that peace and stability are restored to all corners of Nigeria. Distinguished guests, it is worth recalling that exactly 2 years ago today, the current service chiefs and I were entrusted with the leadership of our respective services, the Nigerian Army, the Nigerian Navy and the Nigerian Air Force as well as the Defense Headquarters. On that day, we were charged by the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR, to steer the Armed Forces of Nigeria through one of the most challenging periods in our national history. Since then, we have been working as a unified team to respond to ever-evolving security threats facing our country. However, it is with deep sadness that I remind us of the unfortunate demise of our dear brother and colleague, the former Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja, who passed away in November 2024. May his soul continue to rest in peace. Following his passing, Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluwede was appointed as the next Chief of Army Staff. I must commend him for hitting the ground running, bringing renewed vigor, professionalism and continuity to the strategic direction of the Nigerian Army. The Nigerian Navy is the Chief of Naval Staff, the Chief of Air Staff, the Chief of Defense Intelligence, and all other chiefs have continued to work tirelessly to ensure that we restore peace and tranquility within our lovely country, Nigeria. A seamless transition has been vital in maintaining the momentum and cohesion we have built over the past 2 years. Ladies and gentlemen, the security landscape of our dear country remains dynamic and complex. We are contending with an array of the adaptive and unconventional threats from non-state actors, including terrorism, insurgency, banditry, secessionist violence, and other forms of organized crime. These multifaceted threats underscore the urgent need for a comprehensive, multidimensional, and multidisciplinary approach. In response, the armed forces have fully embraced the whole of society approach, a framework that emphasizes synergy among the military, government institutions, and the people as a unified trinity in the fight against insecurity. The primary objective of today's engagement is to foster direct interaction with media executives from across the country. This platform allows us to present a clear and factual scorecard of our operations and activities over the past 2 years. More importantly, it provides an opportunity for an open dialogue where the media and members of the public can ask pressing questions, and the service chiefs and health and security agencies can respond with sincerity and responsibility.
Service chiefs were all on critical assignments as directed by the CDS to fish out the yellow water criminals, an order by the President and Commander-in-Chief, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. They were represented and their scorecards were read.
As a land force, operating under the leadership and guidance of the Chief of Army Staff, has in the last 2 years carried out much operational activities in fulfillment of its constitutional responsibilities. And during this period, many quantities of battle enablers like mine-resistant, ambush-protected vehicles, gun trucks, EQ series, artillery pieces have been acquired. Many special intervention battalions have been created, trained, equipped, and introduced in the various trouble spots to make the difference we have today. In particular, beginning with the Northwest Zone, in the last 2 years, the Nigerian Army as the land force, operating with other services and agencies, has degraded the Lakurawa terror group to the extent that they cease to pose a serious threat to major towns and villages in that zone.
In the last 2 years, the Nigerian Air Force has reached new heights in operational capabilities. 15 brand new aircraft were received by the Nigerian Air Force, including 6 T-129 attack helicopters from Turkey, 2 Augusta Westland 109 Trekker helicopters from Italy, 3 Beechcraft King Air aircrafts, and 4 Diamond aircrafts. An additional 49 platforms are expected before the end of 2026. They include 3 CASA 295 aircraft, 10 Augusta Westline 109 Trekker aircraft, 12 AH-1 Zulu helicopters, and 24 M346 fighter aircraft. These aircraft will be in the country before the end of next year. These new acquisitions reinforce readiness to reposition the Nigerian Air Force to effectively meet the air power demands of Nigeria. The delivered platforms have greatly enhanced Nigerian Air Force operational effectiveness, enabling the service to fly over 4,500 hours in 2,304 sorties for 1,974 counterterrorism operations within the last 1 year. Similarly, the Nigerian Air Force flew over 4,670 hours in 2,713 sorties for 2,610 anti-banditry missions, as well as 1,450 hours in 453 sorties for 366 counter-crude oil theft missions between last year and the year before. Between January to May this year, the Nigerian Air Force has already flown over 832 hours in 469 sorties for counterterrorism operations, 2,000 hours in 919 sorties for anti-banditry missions, as well as 751 hours in 340 sorties for counter-crude oil theft operations. All these missions contributed decisively to the attainment of operational objectives and enhancing our national security.
I'll be looking at Nigerian Navy operational responses from June 2023 till date, and thereafter I'll consider future initiatives. The Nigerian Navy's operational responses in the last 2 years have been in the form of anti-piracy and sea robbery operations, anti-oil theft operations, anti-smuggling operations, and joint operations. Others include asset recapitalization, establishment of new bases, hydrographic operations, regional and international cooperation, as well as regional and international collaboration. Starting with anti-piracy and anti-sea robbery operations. The Nigerian Navy has maintained credible presence at sea, resulting in significant reduction in sea robbery incidents while ensuring that no piracy incident occurred in Nigerian waters since 3rd March 2022, after the exit of the country from the list of piracy-prone countries. For anti-oil theft operations, the Nigerian Navy has been in the forefront of operations to curb oil theft through Operation Delta Sanity. Initially launched in January 2024, rejigged on 30 December 2024 with the integration of area surveillance and improved intelligence to achieve better results. This has led to arrest of 76 vessels and 242 suspects, while over 808 illegal refining sites with 2,411 dugout pits and 5,421 storage facilities deactivated. Additionally, several items used in perpetrating oil theft-related crimes were seized, such as speedboats, as well as arms and ammunition, amongst others. Furthermore, oil thieves were denied about 27.3 million liters of crude oil, 4.1 million liters of illegally refined AGO, 117,525 liters of DPK, and 369,155 liters of PMS. At current market rates, this amounts to about 29.5 billion naira denied oil thieves since the commencement of the operation.
And as part of proceedings, Deputy Director Defense Media Operations gave a holistic data of the successes of the military for the period under review.
I'm standing in for the Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General M.G. Kange, who is presently for the Combat Support Arms Training Week holding in Kano. I'm to give highlights on the ongoing military operations by the armed forces across the country from 29th May 2023 to 29th May 2025. Notwithstanding the current security challenges in the country, a lot has been achieved in the last 2 years. The summary of operational activities of the military within the period under review are as follows. The total number of terrorists killed is 6,260, while those terrorists arrested are 14,148. The total kidnapped victims rescued are 5,365. Total assorted arms and ammunition recovered are 6,000 672 weapons, 777 rounds recovered respectively. While in the Niger Delta region, troops curbed the steal of natural resources and recovery worth 83 billion, 114 million, 541,921 naira only. Please permit me to give a brief highlight of the achievements made by the various military operations being conducted across the country. Starting with Joint Task Force Northeast Operation Hadinkai. The total number of Boko Haram terrorists and ISWAP terrorists killed are 1,246, while the Boko Haram and ISWAP arrested are 2,467. The civilians rescued are 1,920, while the arms and ammunition recovered are 982 weapons and 41,153 rounds, respectively.
A documentary would bring to light the sacrifices soldiers at the front lines are making to keep Nigerians safe. The documentary went on for 20 minutes. The Minister of Information as well as the Minister of Defense, who was represented, are both special guests, one being the chairman of the occasion, as they watched a heart-touching moment captured in the documentary. This further deepens the perception of the gallant soldiers and their sacrifices. The media surely must see reasons to partner the military and tell armed forces stories the right way.
I was asking the general if the officer, the female officer who had her leg amputated, was actually married. And he said, yes, she's married with children. So you can imagine what the children of that woman will be feeling. But what is instructive is the hope, the enthusiasm, and the show of commitment that we are seeing from these officers who have been injured. Not one of them has given us any reason to despair, to think that the fight against insurgency is not worthwhile for our dear country. I really wish to, on behalf of all Nigerians, really thank our men and women, our gallant men and women in uniform and other security agencies for the work that they do. And this leads me to the point that I always make, that for my colleagues in the media, it is very important that you note what these people are doing. It is essential that you take side with them because they are doing so much and sacrificing their lives, losing parts of their physical bodies so that you and I can sit and even have this meeting ongoing. It is, for me personally, not encouraging when I see, and I always say it, when I see the Nigerian media prioritizing the news of these terrorists and criminal elements over and above what our men and women in uniform are doing. They are working for Nigeria. They are fighting for you. You cannot side with the enemy. It is important that all of us recognize that they are working, sacrificing their lives so that all of us can have a peaceful, united and prosperous Nigeria. It is not useful when our front pages, we are ceding our front pages to these criminal elements. Let's take them off our screens. let's take them off our front pages. Let's remove them from the headlines of our radio stations. They don't deserve it.
The minister soon left, giving way for interactions between the media executives and the CDS with his men. Amongst many issues is the question of the Yelwata killings in Benue, the importance of a border fence to protect Nigeria's territorial integrity, and the Sahel region that is falling. Welfare of the troops also part of it, as well as the Invictus Games.
Come back with place within 2 minutes. The floor is now open. Let me start with my right, then I will come back to the, okay, the lady. Yes, please, you have the floor in 2 minutes.
You're watching Gallantry on this channel. Forward your thoughts and questions to us via email. And when Gallantry returns, more on the CDS General CG Musa making his 2 years in office. Stay with us. Welcome back. Data feeds are still coming through in one place simultaneously on all our social media platforms, controltv.ng. Find us now on Facebook, Instagram and X. We've got all the stories of the armed forces covered. Let's now take you back to the Parlay with media executives to mark 2 years in office of the CDS. Now, just before the Minister of Information took his leave, a picture session was taken. Let's quickly show you that, as well as an award of recognition given in honor of those who support the armed forces to this day. It was done in batches.
Situations like this, that you will have from the communities from everywhere, people tend to want to, for their own selfish reasons, want to benefit from the funds they can get from the terrorists. They want to support them by giving them information and all this. Now, the example I gave with Benue, I told you I was there. The places they burnt were targeted. There were specific areas, and those areas were where the IDPs were staying. Now the question is, those guys that did it, how did they know that this is where those IDPs were staying? So I'm talking about the communities. Even within the communities, they have people giving information as to what's happening within communities. And those are the things we're saying. And it is because when something lasts for a very long time, you get to have these things. It happens everywhere, it's a human nature. So what we do is, what do we do to mitigate such things? And that is forums like this, awareness to people, training. And training not only for the military. The media, you do a lot of training on how to get information across. The communities too have to be trained. And that's one thing we're lacking in Nigeria that is important. Security lessons must be taught right from primary school. We've grown up over time because there is the peace while growing up, so we don't take these things very seriously. The Israel you are talking about, I hope you know that there is a kind of military system they have that every Israeli must go for training. You must serve for 2 years before you leave. So as you speak, everybody above 18 is a military man. So he automatically knows what it is. And then the ones that are not 18 yet, they have these lectures, these programs, they teach them what to do, what to see, what to look out for. We don't have those things. And that's why it's important now that we have challenges like this, we must be able to develop that aspect of security training for our children from the beginning until they grow up, and it brings out the awareness. So you mentioned the issue of the rehabilitation. You know, I always tell people that in war, it is natural that once your enemy surrenders, you can't kill him. And you know, people have held us accountable on such issues. So we too, because Nigeria is a signatory to Human Rights Charter, we are duty bound to obey it. So once there is that, anybody who surrenders, we are bound to receive him and take him and prepare him for prosecution. That's how it has been done. And we make sure that those ones that have gone also go through the safe corridor. And safe corridor is where they are de-radicalized until we're sure who they are and they're stand back. And I can tell you, those of them that went there have not gone back to anywhere. You'll be hearing reports they've gone, no, they are not the ones doing those selling of those arms. Most of the people selling those arms are people that are just doing business on their own. In Maiduguri, you find commercial vehicles, commercial drivers will drive into filling station, buy full tank. When they go across, they have some arrangement, they can remove some quantity. If he buys 20 liters, 50 liters, he can remove 35 liters or 30, drop it somewhere and drive off. He just has enough to take him and bring him back. And he's making a kill, he's making money. I gave you an example in the Northeast. Some NGOs, government officials came in and took hotels and paid for 10 years. Now, if somebody is paying for 10 years, what does that mean? Is he ready to move? He's not ready to go anywhere, and he doesn't want it to end. Landlords in Maiduguri then, how much were they getting for rent? And then somebody is coming to pay you 10 times that amount at once. Do you think he wants it to end? Wouldn't naturally. So you see, the war economy comes in, and once the war economy comes in, saboteurs will increase to make sure it's prolonged. There are people that are benefiting from it, and I keep on hearing most of the people saying the military doesn't want it to end. I say, who is that? Who is that foolish person that is dying and wants it to continue? I mean, the video, the clip we showed you, these are parents of people. These are fathers, mothers. Just the way we're here, our children are going to school, coming back, we can take them for movies, we can take them. You don't have that liberty to do that. The children are not seeing their parents. Okay, look at that one, that double amputee. Tell me, what can he do again for his family? So these are the things that we need people, Nigerians, to understand, that people are sacrificing so much for this country. And then we need to encourage them. Like you had, the few of them that have gone for Invictus Games felt a sense of belonging, and it gives them new awareness. So those are the things we appeal to Nigerians to always want to support these people. And for all those ones committing crime, whether civilian or not, most times when you hear when the Air Force strikes an area, the next thing you hear is that civilian casualties. I can tell you most of those times there are people that are trading with terrorists. Most times before any strike is done, deliberate efforts have been taken. Yes, there could be mistakes, but on most occasions, they are the ones trading with it. So when it hits, they'll come and say, no, they are just civilians. You cannot be a friend of a thief is a thief. So that is the procedure, and that's how it is. So we tell you that we are working inwardly, checking also our own men. In case we have people like that, we always want to check them, and then those ones from outside. So those are the things we're doing. You mentioned that we're losing to this war we're fighting. I think sometimes people don't really, maybe people think we're still doing Nollywood or Kannywood. No, this is real life situation. People are being killed. We're fighting enemies that don't mean this country well. And the most unfortunate thing on their own part is that they have nothing to lose. They are working on drugs. They are all drugged up most times. So even when you are shooting them and killing them, they are coming. And so most people feel that they are not scared. No, a lot of them are on drugs. When we arrest them, keep them 3 days. When the drug wears out, the man will tell you, what is he doing here? Most of them. And then some of them have been brainwashed. So it is by this disarmament program that some of them came to realize that they were being lied to. Their commanders are busy living larger than life, and yet they are the ones suffering. And so those are the issues, and that's why it's unfortunate. Like I've always advised, no country should allow asymmetric warfare or terrorism to start. It is a very, very difficult operation. Americans did 20 years in Afghanistan. How did they end up? With all the technology, with everything they had. So when you are dealing with somebody who believes in what he's doing, it's a very dangerous situation to do. And then so the society must come together with members of the armed forces to defeat that. Otherwise, it will continue to be a problem. So The dying is, and you mentioned that yes, we don't show pictures. I don't know how many of you know how many people died in Afghanistan. They don't tell you. They don't mention it. Because again, it has effect on morale. The idea of running to go and report, also you're affecting the morale of the troops. And once your men are demoralized, how do you want them to work? So we must always understand these concepts. That it's important that we think of the men that are doing the fight. And that is why we took it upon ourselves that those someone injured, we should not just leave them go like that. Because the people fighting will say, oh, if it happens to me, this is what will happen to me. And naturally, he's not ready to sacrifice himself. So those are the issues, and those are the things we want Nigerians to always understand, that we must support our forces. They will make mistakes, but that does not mean we should go out insulting everybody and making it. And the way it looks as if when a soldier dies, we tend to like celebrate it. When a terrorist dies, nothing happens. These are the two things that we need to look at. Are we looking for the money, or we're looking for the continuity of the country and of Nigeria as a nation? Those are the things that I think is very important for us. Modern warfare, yes, we don't produce what we need. Most times, even when we buy, when we get those things, we have to take them and use them to our own peculiarities, and we're doing the best we can. It has also enabled us to be able to develop some level of expertise on handling of those things. But because we don't produce them, we rely on buying from nations. You don't get them off the shelf. Even with your money, sometimes it's difficult buying those items. But we are doing the best we can to get it. With what we have now, what we are achieving, I think it's almost a miracle we're doing. That I can guarantee you. But again, the president has approved last year signing the DICON bill. Now what we're doing with DICON is we're inviting original equipment manufacturers to come to Nigeria and let us produce. Now if we produce in Nigeria, we'll have the weapons we require, we'll save our foreign exchange, we'll be able to employ our own youths, and besides that, we will be able to sell to our countries, our neighboring countries, some of these things. Because even if they have diplomatic issues, militarily we're all working with all our neighbors, because we know the danger. The enemy you are fighting does not respect human, does not respect border. He attacks anybody. So if we don't come together to fight, to prevent it, they can attack Nigeria or attack Niger or Chad. So we're still working together. That I can assure you, we're doing that. On the issue of Alero, Alero, the Bia Alero is just like a pseudonym they use for themselves, like a commander or something. So the one they kill is not the same one you saw in Katsina. And like you mentioned, yes, sometimes it's when you see you are doing one thing and then somebody else is doing something else. We continue because it's democracy. So we need to continue to dialogue, to make the states to also understand that we need to work together. Some of these states have gone to establish vigilante groups and all this thing without adequate training. The model we did in Maiduguri, where the communities were the ones who actually selected the youths. We gave the police and the civil and the DSS, they profiled them to ensure that they are not having any criminal record, they are not criminals. The military trained them, and we attached them to the military. So they were the ones giving information, be able to protect, give us early warning before the enemy comes. So that has saved the situation. But because they are under the control of the military, we have controlled their excesses. Now when you leave them alone, a lot of them have issues in the past. They want to use this opportunity now to settle those scores. So it creates another problem. And the worst one you can do is when you make it one ethnic group. Now you are creating a problem, because now he wants to defend his own ethnic group against others. And then it becomes tit for tat. And then you can't stop that. Before you know it, again, unintended consequences, you bring another aspect of it. So it is important. But what I can tell you is what challenges we are facing now, most of them did not start now. They have been there since independence, and because concrete steps have not been taken to address them, they've continued to grow and grow till the monster they are. And during the military regime, because people were afraid of military, when you do something, something will happen. They waited until democracy came, and then the freedom to exercise. And then people misinterpret freedom to mean to do whatever you feel like, but forgetting the fact that your freedom stops from when you affect somebody's freedom. And that is the point that people have not been able to bring. And for most of the challenges we're having, if we sit down critically and look at them, we can address them, because they are man-made. The problem we have in Nigeria are man-made, and if man is ready to solve them, we'll get them. So that's why I'm happy the president has taken the bull by the horn to ensure that he tackles this issue. It is for Nigerians to come together. And the important thing is we must learn to love ourselves. We're already in this country together. Any aspect of fighting because of tribe, religion, and all this will not take us anywhere. we must understand that other countries have gone, if you read the history of other countries, they've gone worse situations like this. But they came and said, look, we cannot continue like this. We must draw a new page. And that's what I think Nigeria has gotten to. We're talking with the state government because, like I said, a lot of it has to do with politics. Is it boundary demarcation? Is still there. Farmer headers issue is still issues that can be sorted out. If we're able to build ranches, because one thing I realize about what's happening is the perception is there's land grabbing. And again, because things were done before. You know, in the past, most communities stayed with Fulanis and their native locals without any problem. If a cow enters a farm and eats a farm, the cow is arrested, the owner of the cow will come and pay compensation. If any animal is mistakenly dies or whatever, compensations are made. It got to a stage where these compensations were not made. Instead, cows were sent into farms to kill. The farmer gets angry, he attacks the animal. The full animal feels his own investment has been dealt to, and then prosecution wasn't there. So impunity set in, and this is where we are today. One, law and order must be there. A criminal is a criminal. You commit a crime, you should suffer for the crime you have committed. Once we start implementing that fully, it will negate these issues and we'll have understanding. But dialogue, we must continue to talk together as brothers and sisters. Or somebody said, or else we'll die as fools. And I think we don't want to die. On the issue of intelligence, yes, intelligence is coming in. Like I told you, because of the insider information, that's actual day that it happened. The troops were there. There was a faint attack in another village. When the troops moved in, that's when they now came in to attack this other one. And that's what happens, because there are people telling them, okay, the troops are here, the troops are there. I can tell you consistently, if troops are moving on operation, there are people that are monitoring them, tell them 3 vehicles, this number of soldiers, this number of this is what they are doing. This people are giving them that information. People take food to them. People take even women to go and give them, to tell you how bad it is and how sad the situation is. So that's why we want to preach the aspect of good governance. We believe that if there is good governance and people have a sense of belonging, most of these issues will go down if we address them properly. Border management efforts, the last time I spoke about fencing of the wall, I know there have been pros and cons about it, but I tell you, for me, from what I've seen, it's important that we take decisive action. We must learn how to protect our borders. Somebody mentioned 1,000 and something porous borders. The Sahel is hot. Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso are going through so much stress. If you leave them the way they are going in the next 1 year, those countries I'm afraid they might collapse. And once they do, Nigeria is the target. And we must be proactive now. So whatever thing we have to do, it's important that we do that as quickly as possible. I think it's very important. Despite the killing, we still hear about killings. Killings will continue. The number of people who said we have killed, how many are they compared to the whole population of over 200 million? We have porous borders. There are people that are empty, not eating. You know, since Libya has fallen, the whole of that Sahel is open. There's free movement of drugs, illegal immigration, light weapons, small arms, all moving. Once your border is empty, all those things are flowing into your border. And like I told you, the attraction is Nigeria, because people believe Nigeria is rich. So that's why the more you are killing, the more are coming in. And then when you have so much high rate of unemployment, poverty, illiteracy, it's easier for people to be drawn into crime and criminality. And so those are aspects we are putting. So most of these things are not military solution, like I said. It's a holistic thing that has to be done. So to address them, local governments must work. Because if you have a state with 20 local governments, 20 local government chairmen, crime is localized. Each local government will be the chairman, will be dealing with the criminals within his own domain. It will not all come together to the states. And so it will mitigate those things. And so those are the things that we try to preach so that we can get those things. Thank you very much.
It is largely believed that the media executives have taken a sneak preview of reporting for military purposes, not to fire or fuel the embers of insurgents, but rather to encourage the soldiers who have paid the ultimate price at the battlefield to remain strong and to know that Nigerians are behind them and praying for them and their families. And that's it on this episode of Gallantry, as we hope to come your way again next week with a fresh package. I am Gimba Umar, and bye for now.